This is a comparison of aircraft and aviations of World War II and World War I. Let's start off with the Fokker DR-1 triplane. Inspired by the Sopwith triplane, called the most famous fighter in World War I, and very maneuverable. Designed by Anthony Fokker, the first triplanes were delivered to Manfred von Richthofen's Jagdstreitkräfte, a fighter unit of the German Luftstreitkräfte. Ooh, that took me 5 tries to get that right. In late August 1917. Manfred von Richthofen, also known as Red Baron, was a German pilot with the most victories, of 80 victories. It features candy lever wings, supported by single interplane struts. Only the upper wing had ailerons. The plane had some initial problems. The upper wing would come off, causing a plane to crash. That's a bad thing. Tests showed that the ailerons attachment points and glue joints were weak due to poor quality control. In World War I, using planes to fight, not just for reconnaissance, was a new thing. Pilots tried to use pistols or single-round rifles to shoot at the enemy. But shooting forward through propellers was nearly impossible. Bullets would tear up your propeller. That's just a tiny problem. Roland Garros, a Frenchman, started a new technology of mounting a machine gun that would synchronize its firing with the rotation of the propellers. Anthony Fokker, a German, later perfected the technology on the Fokker D7 in 1915. The valves on the gasoline motor were timed to open and close at a given point in the revolution of the engine. This was devastating technology to enemies of the Germans. But after a German plane got lost and landed in France, the secret technology was now known. The Fokker D7 was fabric-covered, wood-frame construction with sheet metal nose and cowling. I'm here with the Spitfire, what makes it the most famous plane of World War II, designed as a short-range, high-performance interceptor aircraft. Its thin elliptical wings enabled it to go faster than other fighters, 363 miles an hour, quite zippy in those days. Its sleek lines and powerful power of the Merlin engines made this plane very maneuverable. It could fly up to 36,000 feet, but the cabin was not pressurized. It also was the first plane to have retractable landing gear. But this confused some pilots because they forgot to put down their landing gear, assuming it was already down, and they crash landed. This plane went through lots of design changes since its first one entered service in 1938. The chief designer was R.J. Mitchell at Supermarine Aviation Works. But Mitchell died during design, and his colleague Joseph Smith took over as chief designer. It had 8 Browning .303 machine guns on the wings. Before, guns were behind the propeller. The interrupter gear had to be used to keep the propeller from being hit by the bullets. The Germans did not like losing, so they were frustrated and asked their pilot what would it take to win. He said, "I should like an outfit of Spitfires." Some of the Spitfires had modifications to carry beer barrels instead of bombs. Spitfires also played a big part in the Battle of Britain in 1940 and Normandy invasion in June 1944. Is the Vought F4U Corsair, also known as a bent-wing bird, kamikaze killer, also the best fighter plane during World War II, due to its speed, firepower, and maneuverability. It was designed to take off from and land on aircraft carriers, but the plane had lots of design flaws in its original design, which was a problem for pilots. Problems were dangerous stall behavior, a tendency to yaw when landing. It bounced when it hit the deck because the landing flaps could accidentally retract right before landing and thus result in loss of lift. The big radial engine threw a lot of oil, which would coat the windshield, which made seeing a problem. But flying in war was a learning experience, and most planes went through many design changes to fix problems. The Navy wanted a plane with maximum attainable speed, a stall speed of 70 miles per hour, minimum range of 1,000 miles. The plane's inverted gull wings were very unusual and designed around the huge engine. The amount of wing dihedral affects ability along the roll axis. The wing's polydihedral allowed the landing gear to be shorter and stronger. The shorter landing gear could be folded into wheel wells. According to Quora, placing a short landing gear at the wing's bend still allowed use of long-bladed propeller, taking better advantage of the powerful engine than a straight wing could ever have allowed. The gull-wing Corsair could fly 417 miles per hour, 37,000 feet high, and climb 2,900 feet per minute. The designer was Rex Baron Basel. Manufacturers were Vought, Goodyear Aerospace, and Brewster Aeronautical Corporation. It was first introduced in 1942. It's recap time. Now let's talk about World War I. The purpose of the plane, primarily used for reconnaissance, feeding info on enemy movement. Combat was crude. World War II planes were used for combat, reconnaissance, bombers, fighters, and for support, for transport, training, and communication. In World War I, some planes were one-seaters. Also, some were two-seaters. In World War II, the largest plane was a Messerschmitt 323 Giant, a cargo plane built by Germany. Could carry, for example, a pair of 4-ton trucks, or 52 drums of fuel, or 130 fully outfitted combat troops. This is not the Messerschmitt. Famous pilots of World War I were rated by the number of victories. Manfred von Richthofen, a German with 80 victories, also known as Red Baron. Werner Voss, a German with 48 victories. Eddie Rickenbacker, American with 26 victories, the most victories of any American ace. Who were the famous pilots of World War II? Well, the highest ace of Germany was Erich Hartmann, with 352 victories. That's a lot of victories. The highest ace of the United States was Richard Bong with 40 victories. In World War I, few planes were made in the U.S. because Wright brothers put 6 patents on their plane, causing no one to be able to make planes. The U.S. had planes in development, but none of them saw combat. During World War II, a total of 295,959 planes made in the United States. In World War I, the top speed was a little over 100 miles per hour. During World War II, the top speeds of aircraft was 808 miles per hour with the German Lippisch, and 612 miles per hour by the American Lockheed L-133 Starjet. In World War I, planes were made of wood and fabric. Most planes during World War II were monoplanes made with metal and were more aerodynamic. Most of these Navy planes had folding wings for storage in the aircraft carriers. In World War I, the engines were rotary and radial, an early type of internal combustion engines. Engines of World War II were more powerful air-cooled radial engines, such as the Pratt and Whitney Wasp series, to the powerful liquid-cooled V12 engines from Daimler-Benz and Rolls-Royce. Jet engines only existed in labs.